The Ottoman incident, Lucy's fall at Mooney's house and the hospital stay. The final major movement of the composite begins with an act of characteristic generosity that immediately curdles into physical mishap, and the sequences that chronicle Lucy's fall, her hospital stay, and the first stirrings of the lawsuit rank among the most intricately layered explorations of accident, obligation, and escalating misunderstanding in the later seasons of The Lucy Show. After the resolution of the Snowdon affair, 1000 first hours of the Snowdon.ing, the narrative returns to the familiar domestic and professional partnership of Lucy and Mooney, now restored to its ordinary rhythms of mutual dependence and low-level exasperation. It is within those rhythms that the decisive incident occurs, and from that incident the entire concluding farce will grow. The occasion is an overtime work session at Mooney's home. Mrs. Mooney is away at a reducing farm, a detail delivered with Gail Gordon's perfect blend of marital resignation and residual pride in the 20 pounds she has lost. That's just one chin. Lucy has agreed to help with an accumulation of dictation, and the atmosphere is one of slightly strained domestic professionalism. Mooney offers tea. Lucy, in a burst of helpfulness, insists on preparing it herself. She knows where everything is. She has been out to the kitchen many times. The claim is ordinary, the consequence is not. In the act of moving toward the kitchen, she trips over an ottoman and falls. The fall itself is rendered with the precise physical comedy that remained one of Lucille Ball's greatest resources. There is no elaborate setup, no prolonged anticipation. The accident occurs in the middle of ordinary movement and is over almost before the audience has fully registered it. Ball's recovery is immediate and characteristic, a quick assessment of her own condition, a protest that she is somewhat bruised but otherwise not hurt, and an attempt to minimize the entire event. Mooney's response is the opposite. Panic floods his voice and posture. He refuses to allow her to move. He telephones his doctor with the urgent declaration that his secretary has slipped and fallen. When Lucy tries to reassure the physician that she is essentially unharmed, Mooney intercepts and translates her words into a more alarming medical bulletin: she has hurt her somewhat and bruised her otherwise. The distortion is pure Mooney protective, self-dramatizing, and already beginning to construct the accident as a crisis that requires professional intervention. The hospital sequences that follow are a master class in the comic treatment of institutional medicine and personal obligation. Lucy is subjected to a battery of X-rays and tests that ultimately reveal nothing wrong. The diagnosis she explains to the visiting Mary Jane with perfect deadpan timing is diagnostic analysis, which means the doctor needs the money. The line is a small gem of satirical observation, and Ball delivers it with the weary clarity of a woman who has seen through the entire performance while still being required to participate in it. The hospital room itself becomes a stage for the display of competing forms of concern. Mooney has sent roses. The bank has sent flowers. Mary Jane arrives with candy and the immediate practical suggestion that Lucy has a perfect lawsuit on her hands. The introduction of the legal possibility marks the true beginning of the final farce. Mary Jane's cousin is a lawyer. He has won thousands of dollars for clients with far smaller cases. Lucy's initial resistance is absolute and characteristic. She does not want to sue anybody, least of all Mooney, who is her friend and whose house was the scene of an accident she regards as trivial. Mary Jane's persistence, however, is equally characteristic. She extracts a reluctant promise that Lucy will at least discuss the matter with the lawyer. The promise is given with the visible reservation of a woman who already senses that the discussion will not remain a discussion. What elevates the Ottoman incident and its immediate aftermath beyond conventional accident comedy is the careful attention to the competing motives and emotional stakes of every participant. Mooney's panic is genuine. His subsequent attentiveness, the roses, the assurance that the bank will cover the hospital bill, the portal-to-portal pay for the overtime, is motivated by a mixture of residual guilt, institutional caution, and the long-standing, unspoken affection that has always underlain his exasperation with Lucy. Lucy's minimization of the injury is equally genuine. She has never been a woman to make much of her own discomfort, and her primary concern is the restoration of ordinary relations. Mary Jane's insistence on the legal opportunity is the voice of practical friendship, yet it also introduces the external force that will drive the narrative into its most chaotic register. The cultural context of the late 1960s gives the sequence an additional resonance. The growing visibility of personal injury litigation, the expanding role of insurance, and the ordinary citizen's complicated relationship with both medical institutions and the legal profession were all recognizable features of American life. The episode treats these features with a light satirical touch that never descends into pure cynicism. The hospital's thoroughness is both reassuring and faintly ridiculous. Mooney's institutional response is both generous and self-protective. Lucy's reluctance to sue is both morally attractive and from a practical standpoint potentially naive. The audience is invited to hold all of these perspectives in suspension while the machinery of misunderstanding continues to turn. Lucille Ball's performance throughout the hospital stay is a continuous demonstration of the character's resilience and clear-eyed humor. She makes Lucy's essential health visible without undercutting the comedy of the institutional over-response. Her interactions with Mary Jane, the shared candy, the reluctant agreement to see the lawyer, the lingering affection for Mooney, even as the possibility of legal action is being discussed, maintain the emotional continuity that has defined the entire composite. The woman who once covered a 48-cent shortage and gaslit a bank executive is the same woman who now lies in a hospital bed insisting that she is fine and that she does not wish to make trouble for a friend. The continuity of character is absolute, only the external complications have changed. As the hospital sequence concludes, and Lucy is released with a clean bill of health, the narrative has completed the necessary preparation for the final movement. The accident has occurred. The institutional responses have been made. The legal possibility has been introduced. The stage is set for the entrance of Wallace Wiley, the shady lawyer whose contingency fee enthusiasm will transform a minor household mishap into a $1 million claim, a courtroom confrontation, and the ultimate reaffirmation of the bond between Lucy and Mooney. The Ottoman has done its work. The fall has been taken. And Lucille Ball once again has turned an ordinary physical mishap into the foundation of an elaborate and affectionate comic architecture. The audience, thoroughly prepared for the chaos to come, is ready to follow Lucy Carmichael into the offices of Wallace Wiley in the escalating farce of the lawsuit that will bring the composite to its chaotic and restorative conclusion.